If you're an ambitious professional, I want you to listen closely. This explainer is your guide to what I think is the ultimate form of career security. We're not just going to talk about climbing the corporate ladder. We're going to talk about how you can become the very foundation that ladder rests on. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This quote basically flips everything we're taught about success on its head. It suggests the real goal isn't just about getting the top job. It's about becoming so essential that the person in that job literally cannot succeed without you. Now that is where you find real, lasting power. And just think about it, right? The people with the big titles, the visible leaders, they are constant targets. They are scrutinized for every move, they face rivals at every turn, and you better believe they take all the blame when things go wrong. While everyone else is fighting for that shaky spotlight, the true masters of power are operating from a much, much smarter position. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If the top isn't really the safest place to be, then where is? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful strategic shift. You've got to stop trying to be the king and start becoming the king's most vital, most indispensable asset. And this brings us to the core concept we're going to unpack today, the shadow pillar. This isn't just about being good at your job. It's about becoming so integrated, so woven into the critical functions of the organization that the very thought of you leaving, well, it creates panic. You become the hidden structural support, holding the whole thing up from behind the scenes. So how in the world do you actually get there? Well, it's a three-step blueprint. It's actually pretty straightforward. First, you have to find your king. Second, you become their mind. And third, you master the shadows. Let's break down what each of those really means. All right, let's start with step one. Find your king. And I'm telling you, this is arguably the most crucial decision you will make because your entire strategy hinges on attaching yourself to the right kind of leader. Now, here's the counterintuitive part. You don't want a leader who's all-powerful and has it all figured out. Why? Because they have no gaps for you to fill. Instead, you should be looking for a leader who's maybe a little inexperienced or overwhelmed or just lacks a critical skill. They are the ones who are actively, desperately searching for someone to solve their problems. And if you want the perfect historical example of this dynamic, look no further than these two. You had King Louis XIII, who was young and completely in over his head, and then you had Cardinal Richelieu, who didn't try to take his crown. No, he was smarter. He made himself the king's indispensable guide. You see, Richelieu handled all the hard stuff: foreign policy, national security, military strategy. And he did it all in the king's name. So while Louis got to be the public face of power, Richelieu held the real power because he made the king completely and totally dependent on his expertise. This leads us perfectly into step two, become their mind. So once you've found your leader, your mission is to develop an expertise that nobody else has. You have to become the one person they absolutely must turn to for answers. This is all about carving out your own special niche of knowledge. Maybe it's data analysis or strategic finance or some complex technical system nobody else gets. Whatever it is, you need to immerse yourself in it so deeply that you become the sole authority. Your understanding has to become unique and absolutely essential. The end game here is all about perception. You want your boss, and frankly, everyone else, to believe that if you left, it would cause a massive, painful disruption. This isn't just about being good at what you do. It's about making your contributions feel truly irreplaceable to the organization's success. And that brings us to our final and maybe most nuanced step. You have to master the shadows. See, gaining all this influence is completely useless if it just paints a giant target on your back. You have to learn to wield your power subtly by playing the role of the perfect courtier. This is so important. Your best ideas, they become your leader's ideas. Your biggest successes, they're your leader's successes. You guide them, you advise them, and you make them look absolutely brilliant. But you never, ever steal the spotlight. This makes them feel powerful and in control, which, in turn, makes them want to keep you around and protect you. You see, by staying out of the limelight, you avoid all the envy and the resentment that comes with visible power. This lets you influence the entire organization for years, completely secure, because no one even sees you as a threat. Your influence is felt everywhere, but it's rarely ever seen. Okay, so let's bring all this together with the one core lesson of this entire strategy. Seriously, if you take only one thing away from our time together, let it be this. True, lasting career security does not come from being liked. It comes from being needed. Think about it. Popularity is so fragile, right? It's an emotion. It can change with someone's mood. But dependency, that's an anchor. That's a structural state of reliance. Being needed creates this powerful fear in other people, the fear of what would happen if you were gone. And that is a much, much stronger foundation to build your career on. And this right here is the fundamental mindset of the shadow pillar. You're not aiming for affection. You are aiming for leverage. When the cost of cutting you out of the system creates way more problems than it solves, your position becomes unshakable. You've done it. You've achieved true indispensability. So I'll leave you with this final thought to reflect on. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. Are you going to spend your career chasing the fleeting validation that comes from being liked? Or are you going to get to work building the enduring security that only comes from being truly, fundamentally needed?